Hi, it's Kim, and welcome to the channel today. We are going to check out my two kind of large cactus-like plants. This one I think is a pharaoh cactus. I'm not sure exactly which type. It sort of has like a little furry bump with tiny little thorns coming out of it. I've tried to identify it by pictures, but can't really find anything that looks exactly like it. Now, this particular plant seems like a cactus because it's so spiny, but that's my Crosby's prolific aloe. Its thorns and everything make it seem like a cactus. But both of these I have in hypertuva pots, and I am going to feed them today. I've found some plant food that I think will help them and possibly can stimulate this one to bloom. I've never really had any growth from this cactus. I've had it for several years, but I know I have not fed it in probably 2, maybe even 3 years, and I know that's not good for it. But we are going to see what we can do. One of the other YouTubers had reminded me. I asked why it had not grown, why I can't get any blooms and flowers, and they suggested that I try feeding it. And I thought, facepalm, let's try that. So I have figured out which kind of plant food I want to use, and I'm going to show you how I feed it. Now, the particular plant food I have decided to use is this one. They're not paying me to say this. This is my own opinion. Not sponsored or anything by Schultz. But I've looked this one up, and it seems to have a very low NPK rating, the 277 there. This rating, the nitrogen 2 parts, the phosphates 7, and then the potassium 7 parts. And so I want to try this. After all, it does have a picture of my cactus and what it's supposed to look like on its cover. I always have had a fear of overfeeding and burning or killing a plant. And this one is recommended that you just use 7 drops in a quart of water. 7 drops is 1/8 of a teaspoon in a quart of water, and you put it on each time you water the plants. So I'm thinking that might be the way for me to go, which would be the simplest and easiest way for me to feed my plants, especially the cactus here that's not been fed. It's probably starving. Now, the aloe is in fresh soil, so it's probably in fine shape, it being in fresh soil. But it's just recently had 2 great big tall bloom stalks. I'm sure it took a lot of energy out of it to bloom. So I want to feed it too. So what I will do is put a drain dish on each of them. The person who recommended this, and I'll link to them in my description, recommended to put the food on it and then let it sit in that water that you've used for about 20 minutes. So I'm going to try that, and then we'll see what it'll do for my cactus. Now I've set both of my plants in their containers inside a drainage tray. And the drainage tray that I'm using in this instance is one of those cellophane or plastic, I'm not sure what that is, pastry trays. I just cut them in half, and I can use the bottom and the lid to be a large drainage tray that I can set everything in. It works over here on my plant shelves for a lot of my small container plants, because you can get 6, 8, 10 even in those large trays. So now all I need to do is add the drops. Now, one of these tubes in my little eyedropper, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Might be 10 or 11. But since I'm mixing a gallon, so that would be 4 times this. So just to be safe, I'm going to do the 7 drops, not quite 4 times. And I've shook the bottle well. You know, products always say to shake well. So I'm going to squirt half of that out. And then this last one won't be the entire tube. So let's put the lid back on. And then I have my plant food all ready. Now I will just label this with a magic marker that says plant food, but I can water all of my succulents with this mixture. Let me get a stir stick. Okay, I picked up a stir stick. It probably disperses itself real well, but just to be safe, I always feel overly cautious when I'm feeding my plants. But I'm going to stir that up well, and then I will feed these plants. Okay, I've gotten a pitcher with a little rosette on the end, so it'll go onto the plants more easily. And let me fill this up. And here we go. This thing is probably gasping and saying, "Mommy, you're finally feeding me. I've been starved to death." Let me see how that's soaking in. This particular one has a little bit of that crushed granite as its surface. And I'm going to make sure I overwater it, and anything that collects in the drain tray, I'm just going to leave it sit in it for a while. And the same with the big aloe. I'm sure it needs a nice drink. Now, I'm not sure if watering and letting it go down into that little crown, or whatever you would call that, is good or bad. I am not an expert on cactus. I don't know that much about them. But let me get another bunch. You can see the water starting to run over and accumulate. And I'm sure that it would be good for this one to sit in that water at least for a while and let this hypertufa get all hydrated, so that the soil itself, if it's dried out, it may take it a while to reabsorb moisture. That looks really good. I feel much better for both of my plants. Sorry about the shadows working in the basement here. But when I get these all hydrated and ready, they're going on to my outside porch, screen porch jungle. Getting an accumulation down here yet? No, I don't see any accumulation there. But I will just continue adding some water until we show a little more accumulation. Well, I've definitely got some accumulation of water down here under the cactus. And you can see how it's starting to seep up in through this porous hypertufa. So I feel like this has gotten a good watering. Now the aloe, you You can see where it has gotten wet down in there, and there's just beginning to see, I don't know if you can tell, there's water seeping down there, but it is showing underneath there. So I know water is coming through and being absorbed. I'm going to let these sit for about another 20 minutes or so, and then they'll go out to their permanent home on the screened porch so that they'll get the cool nights and the warmer days. And I'm hoping that's really going to stimulate this cactus to bring me some flowers. But again, I chose the Schultz cactus food. It's called Cactus Plus, and I have great hopes of getting a flower out of this. I'll just add a little bit more water, and then I'll show you the final results when I get them upstairs. Come on, little babies. Have a drink. Your plant mommy's not been very good to you. I don't know if you can pick up the sound of that absorption. I'm feeling a lot better about my plants. And now I have both of them carried out. My son-in-law carried them out for me. And I think they look wonderful. I've got this one in this little metal stand. It just perfectly fits the size of that particular pot. And then the other one, the cactus, on this little metal stand. I think they look really good. Let me kind of swivel around so I won't be against the light. And you can see where the water tried to seep up, but it should be all nice and hydrated under there. And this one too looks very, very good. I'm real pleased with their new location. And they'll both be getting the filtered sun that comes through here only till about noon. And it comes through that screening, so that kind of shields it just slightly, as if it comes through like shears at a window. But I am really loving this. So thank you so much, and I will update you later when I get a whole lot of flowers on this. I'm looking forward to it. But thanks for watching, and see you next video.